Yes, I was the fool that said I'd do this. We think justice, peace, integrity of creation has been neglected, and there are some areas that don't even have a representative, and this has hampered communication, a common theme. But it's there in all of us, and it's part of our spirituality, and there's a lot of passion about justice, peace and integrity of creation, which is coming out. So prayer and discussion lead to practical action. That's really just how it works. If you don't have the prayer and discussion, then the practical action is often pointless and misguided. What do tertiaries actually do? We haven't shared enough about what we're actually doing in our own personal lives and in our groups and areas. And there doesn't seem to be a very good forum for that, or not a forum that everybody recognises. There are talks of websites. There are talk of people who are phobic to technology and need talking face-to-face or paper copies, and how that's actually done. We did think actually that was an area responsibility rather than a chapter responsibility. But and a big talking about our dialogue with Islam. Who is doing it already, and where are they doing that? And we'd like to know. What can we do about interfaith prayer? A lot of us have been part of interfaith prayer and found it very powerful. What can we do about the Holy Spirit, how it overcomes barriers within interfaith prayer, and how we can support that? Accepting the faith of others and who they are, as Francis did with the Sultan, that he just accepted his faith. There was a little conversation about it, as in the film yesterday, but then he accepted for who they were and the good that they bring to the world. And so it's about that Franciscan acceptance and the letting down of our barriers and our and becoming open. If St. Francis hadn't been a fool for God and put himself in the way of the Sultan, it was a bit reckless, that there would never have been that opportunity. So perhaps we need to be a little reckless and put ourselves in the way of opportunities. And if he hadn't been the open and non-judging and interested person in other people, then it wouldn't have worked. So there was not, it was a peaceful interaction. So yes, we talked a lot about obstacles in ecumenism, both within TSSF and without, and how we need to work at overcoming barriers. Oh, I missed out Jesus and the Syrophoenician woman. That was very powerful in the interfaith bit. It's similar in ecumenism, isn't it? It's about listening to the other person, where they've come from, what their story is, and then being alongside, working with them. There are some organisations that are very good for that I'd never heard of. Charter of Compassion, PCN Britain, Modern Church, Affirming Catholicism, and there were others. We talked about the original Franciscan charism and getting back to that. There was a talk about what happens with groups, that there's an original charism that draws people, like-minded people in, and they're a small group and they all know each other, it's a community, and then it grows because it's so exciting, and then you need structure. And somehow the structure takes over and you forget about the original charism, and there's a feeling of a need to get back to that original, which is pretty much what we're talking about, but there hadn't been a conversation to say that. We need to remember the gospel and Francis's response to the gospel. Yes, isolated and rural tertiaries. There needs to be a balance between activity and spirituality. Do. That's, but so there are doers, and there's those of us who are in a place to do, and there are those that can only be perhaps older and isolated people in care homes who can still pray for the doers and can be a part of what they do and help to reflect and make sure they're on the right lines. And we thought about buddy systems again, about getting those people matched up together so that there can be a way of supporting people in their activities. Prayer is an activity. That was important. Franciscan aid, other things we have to speak about. People's causes. In fact, I'm going to turn the pages because we're on to the summary now. Yeah. So, putting prayer into practice, sharing ideas, communicating, emulating St. Francis, website, communicating in that way. We wondered if there could be somewhere on a website for justice, peace, integrity. There probably is. That everybody could contribute to and share events and activities that are going on so that we can support in prayer or in action. Obstacles to ecumenism, and sharing, looking at those obstacles and ensuring that they are not places of pain for people, that we aren't upsetting people by neglecting the differences, and that we need to actively support overcoming those differences. The causes that people came up with, it's very interesting what people's causes are. We had a long talk about the fashion industry and fur and horrible things happening to animals in China, and then we came on to farming and farming practices. There's a lot of very strong feelings about that, and then I think other people have different causes. There's waste management. Inequality in society, huge issue that we managed to not quite get to near the end. So homelessness, apparently a huge problem in Oxford, and the food banks. All these things are Franciscan causes, as they were. They are things that it's important for us to be involved in. And I'm going to add in mine because I'm up here. Crises in mental health. Can we do more to support? There's so little statutory care out there. People who are going through crises and turning up in A&E, what can we do to support people who are going through that kind of horrible situation in their life?
Thank you very much. Thank you.